Hello, hello. Welcome to the Bible in a Year. Father Mark speaking to my parishioners about day number 13 of the Bible in a Year. And we're looking at Genesis chapter 25 and 26. And here it begins with the death of Abraham. And then we're going to be hearing now about Isaac. And we're going to... the only part of the Bible where it talks about Isaac when he was an adult. Let's see, it begins in verse 19, speaking about the fact that Isaac was married when he was 40 years old to Rebekah, and she had twins. And within the womb, they're already sort of struggling. And the Lord explained that there are two nations in your womb. And it turned out that this was, of course, Esau and Jacob. Jacob was the father of the 12 tribes of Israel. Israel, the nation of Israel. And Esau was they say, the father of the Arab peoples, other Semitic peoples who are not Israelites. Israel, Jacob's name was changed to Israel, of course, people of God. And so, but even in the womb, these two were struggling. And it says when they were born, Esau came out first and Jacob came out afterwards, holding on to Esau's heel in verse 26. And that's a kind of a funny thing, but it's really typical, this whole idea of who's the firstborn. And we Christians, we understand why it's repeated and emphasized so many times, this whole firstborn thing, and that the firstborn son many times gets kind of, replaced or displaced or has to suffer, and that the younger son gets the inheritance. That's us, right? Because Jesus Christ is the firstborn of all creation. He's the only Son of the Father, but we get the inheritance, and he had to suffer on the cross. That's why you got all these funny stories. Anyway, we're going to hear later in chapter 38 about the two twin sons of Tamar within her womb. And there was one of the sons, his hand came out first, and they put a red scarlet string on it to label him. The arm came out only, and they put on the wrist, they put this string, and then the arm went back in, and the other boy came out first, Perez. So Perez was really the firstborn, and so the one with the red string could kind of symbolize, of course, this the suffering or the blood or this idea that somehow the another son gets to be the firstborn instead, because of the suffering of the real firstborn, something like that. Anyway, so that's kind of what we got here, and then we have that famous story of Esau being the outdoorsman and a hunter, and everybody loved him. Even Jacob loved his brother because he brought the food home, and everybody was happy. But then Jacob was perhaps a little devious, because Esau came home and he was so hungry one day that Esau made him promise to give him the inheritance or the blessing, the fatherly blessing, instead of him. And he traded it for a bowl of beans, a bowl of lentil soup. And so that's that strange story, which of course, that story represents the fact that when we sin, we do a mortal sin, knowing that, I'm giving up my inheritance. My goodness, my heavenly, that's something that we lose our reason. It's irrational, right, to do that. All right, so let's see. Then continuing in chapter 26, we have the story of Isaac going into a land called Gerar, and a lot of things happen to him that happened to Abraham. Again, there's that repetition. What happens to the patriarchs is eventually what same sort of things happen to Jesus, and then it's the same sort of things that happen to us. We get blessings, we rise to the top of society. We get lots of blessings, 100-fold of crops and such, but also there is sometimes persecution. And so that's what we have here in chapter 26.